Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross from PTCGRadio, and we are here with round 3 of the Pokémon Trading Card Game National Championship from the UK in 2015. And we're going to see a very good matchup today between a newer player, Emma Couper, and her Rayquaza deck, against the old stalwart Ben Stewart-Armstead, with a kind of a Raichu Leafeon deck, both taking advantage of Skyfield. Now, just a quick warning before we do get going that because this was recorded as part of the live stream that went out over the internet live from UK Nationals, the commentary will be a little bit different from how it usually is in my videos. You might hear references to tweeting in or things of that nature. The sound is also a little bit louder at the very beginning of the game because I forgot to readjust my microphone between the interview from round 2 and the game here. There is an interview with both players at the end of the game, which I urge you to stick around for, although the audio quality again changes a little bit because I had to change the settings on the microphone. So sit down, listen to this, or stand up I suppose if you really want to. I hope very much that you enjoy it, and make sure you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We will be back with round 4 very shortly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with round 3 of the UK Pokemon National Championships, and hopefully we've got another little doozy for you here. On the left we have Emma Couper, a Scottish lady about whom I know exactly nothing other than she didn't really want to be on stream, so I thank her for acquiescing and agreeing to be on stream. And on the right we have Ben Stewart-Armstead. I've put his name in wrong, but he is the brother of Jack Stewart-Armstead, who we saw in the previous round. Now, the reason Ben's on stream is because after the previous round, Ben came over to me and exclaimed loudly, "I can't lose." So I thought we would put him to the test and get him on stream. If it was a bit loud a second ago, I've just rearranged the equipment there, so it should be slightly more comfortable listening now. So Ben is playing Raichu Leafeon, and I promise you I'm not deliberately just highlighting EV decks on this stream, but the fact of the matter is I wanted to pick some 2-0s who had interesting decks, and we've got Ben here who's been around for years, played at Worlds multiple times, a veteran player who's kind of been there, done that, playing a very interesting deck. And we've got Emma, who's the complete opposite. She's a new player, and she's playing a very new deck. She's playing this Rayquaza deck, and we've seen Toad on stream, we haven't seen Rayquaza on stream. Now, if you're wondering where all the Toad is, I'm going to be honest with you, there is plenty of Toad out there, but a lot of the good players who are playing Toad have been featured in mirror matches up to now. So what I didn't want to be doing was just showing Toad mirror after Toad mirror. If we get to that stage and that's the way that the championships goes, then obviously we will end up in a position where I'm going to be showing you Toad mirrors all day. But I'd rather not get to that. So we're going to go with some more unusual decks, and if we get to Toad mirror, then we get to Toad mirror. It's certainly not the end of the world. We will, I'm sure, see plenty of Toad as we go through this stream, as we carry on. Now, for those people that are asking, and I've had a few inquiries about it, yes, these videos are going to be going up on YouTube afterwards, assuming that the technology saves a copy of them. I can't 100% guarantee, but I'm hoping that they do. Obviously, if you're listening to this later on YouTube and the commentary sounds a little bit different, it's because we're live streaming here, so it's a little bit different to just recording one game in isolation at home. So the commentary will sound a little bit different to usual. That is to be expected. So, we are in round 3. Both these players are 2-0. I'm not necessarily going to only pick XOs every round, but certainly for the first few rounds, we've got 8 to go here. I want to pick some XOs, and we are going to focus on players doing well. I'm not going to show you a game which is, you know, a 2-3 against a 2-2-1 or something like that. And the good news is I have been given complete power over what we show, so we're going to be getting some good games, I hope, at least as far as I can. So we've got Emma on the left, she's going to be playing Rayquaza, the new colourless version, and Ben on the right, he's going to be playing Leafeon Raichu. And it's the kind of deck that Rayquaza has trouble with. So honestly, as we go into this game, Ben has got to be the heavy favourite here. Raichu is incredibly good against Rayquaza, and Rayquaza kills everything. But it's one of those cards kind of like Black Kyurem EX, or even the Dragon Rayquaza, or Meta Primal Groudon, where although it kills everything, it takes a lot of effort for it to do so. So, yeah, it's you know, she's going to be able... But the point is, in order to get the KO, she's going to have the Mega Rayquaza with the Spirit Link and the free energy and all the bench Pokemon. So it's not going to be quite as simple and straightforward as just running around getting the big KOs. Emma's deck is built for getting the big KOs on EXs, and that's just not what Ben's deck does. Now, Ben has started with a Pikachu here, and he needs to get some more basics down fast, because if there's one thing that Emma's deck can do, it is take fast KOs. She's 2-0. That means that she has made this Rayquaza deck, and it's going off fast, and it's consistent, and it's getting KOs. So although Ben, he's got all of his Raichu and stuff, he still needs to be able to... He still needs to be able to get them going. It's going to be quite different. So he's going to need to get the Raichu, and essentially he needs to almost say goodbye to the active Pikachu. Now, he's attaching a Silver Bangle there just because he wants to draw more cards with Shaman, and he needs to get set up here. Now, of course, Emma's going to be in a position where she's going to be able to use Lysandra to drag the Shamans active and kill them, but of course, as we've talked about in previous rounds, if you're killing the Shaman, you're not killing the attacker, and when your attacker is weak to lightning and their attacker is one-hit KOing you, you don't want to be using Lysandra to kill a backup Pokemon while they're just then getting the KO. So Ben there is attaching an energy, and he's using Eevee's ability. Eevee has the ability which allows you to, when you attach a basic energy to the Eevee, it allows you to then evolve the Eevee straight away, even on the very first turn of the game, as we see here, into any evolution that evolves from said Eevee. So he attaches a grass energy, and he's able to immediately evolve it into a Leafeon. And here, you're seeing the effect that Shaman has on the format. And if you're wondering, you know, oh, this Shaman, so many of them, yeah, it's only going to get worse. Shaman is going to be an absolute beast all through this format. It really is going to be something which just kind of keeps going and going. And it's going to be a staple for many years to come. So get your Shamans. Do not be in the position where you need Shamans a year or two down the line where you can't go and buy boxes of Roaring Skies anymore. Ben here, he's got the 2 Pikachus, he's got Silver Bangles on both, he's got an Eevee that he's evolved into a Leafeon with an energy attached, and then he plays an N. He's got 8 cards on the field, and then he plays an N. Now, we see again there a Trainer's Mail. Now, this is a card which, again, I haven't posted my top 10 cards of Phantom Forces. I'm going to. It's going to happen. It's going to turn up on my YouTube. But it's not something I've posted yet. It's going to be coming probably about the middle of next week. And I think I'm undervaluing Trainer's Mail. It's a card that a lot of people like a lot more than I do. It's a card that just lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can pick any trainer you find there, be it item, supporter, etc., and put it into your hand. It lets you dig for something you want. So if you're really looking for that Silver Bangle to get the KO, or you're really looking for that Ultra Ball to get a Shaman, or whatever, Trainer's Mail allows you to dig through your deck a little bit faster and try and make it happen. So here, Emma needs a fast start. So she's got the Rayquaza, she's got the Spirit Link, she's got the Grass Energy, and she's got the turn 1 Winona. And that is lovely for her, because Winona allows her to search for free colourless Pokemon. And here, she is going to clearly go for Mega Rayquaza, you would assume. She is probably going to go for a Shaman, and it looks like a second Rayquaza, yeah. So it doesn't seem like she plays Altaria. Now, Altaria has Delta Evolution, the ancient trait which allows you to just evolve straight away. And it shuts off weakness from all your colourless Pokemon. And if you look at Ben's field, he's building up Raichu. Raichu is going to be able to one-hit KO the Rayquaza. So what Emma really needs to do here, if she's got a Rayquaza, is get it out. If she doesn't have a Altaria, this is going to go quite badly for her. If she doesn't have an... I think I said Rayquaza. If she doesn't have an Altaria, this is going to go quite badly. Now, she's already manually attached, so she's going to need a couple of Mega Turbos here. That's the trainer card which attaches a basic energy from your discard to your active, and she hasn't been able to do it. That is very, very interesting and not very good, because that Winona could have set her up lovely. Now here, Ben is in a very nice position indeed. Now, Raichu does 20 damage times the amount of bench Pokemon you have, so it's currently doing 80 damage. With the Silver Bangle, it will be doing 110, times 2 for the weakness is 220. Raichu DCE here, and he's got the Ultra Ball there. Does he have the DCE is the question. Will be everything he needs. Now, you see he's got the Execute there, propagates it into his hand just to allow him to use the Ultra Ball. And he's getting rid of a Lysandra as well. Honestly, he's not going to need Lysandra this game. It's not going to be something he's going to be needing, because if he's one-hit KOing anything she's got for 1 energy, then it's really not a big issue. Now, he's gone for the Raichu there, and that's good, partly because he needs the Raichu to attack, but also because Raichu's got free retreat. So if he ends up in a position where he hasn't got the DC and he can't do the attacking with Raichu, he can just retreat into Leafeon, and then Leafeon can hit for... Oh, he's got the DCE, so that's irrelevant. Leafeon would be hitting for only 40 damage. So we see Skyfield there, which is the same stadium that Emma's going to be playing. Skyfield is the one that I misidentified in round 1, so you'll have to forgive me for that one. And it essentially allows you to have as many bench Pokemon as 8. You can have up to 8 benched Pokemon. And of course, this is going to help with both their decks, because Raichu does 20 times the amount of bench Pokemon you have, and Rayquaza does 30 times the amount of bench Pokemon you have. Now, already here, you are starting to see the advantage that Ben's got. Now, 2 reasons I wanted to have this game on stream. Firstly, because Emma's clearly got a really good Rayquaza list that sets up. She's 2-0. And secondly, because I really wanted to show this Leafeon Raichu deck. Now, I can tell you that Ben has actually yet to play a Seismitoad deck today. And if you go back to the first game we recorded today, and, you know, we had Seismitoad running through a Leafeon Golbat deck. A Crobat deck, I should say. And I explained how I didn't think Leafeon was quite the tech a lot of people do for Seismitoad. So I would, if Ben keeps winning and keeps doing well, I may well bring Ben on the stream again later to see him how he fares up against a Seismitoad. Certainly, if we can bring him in for a post-game interview, we will. And, you know, we'll ask him about that. I say if Ben's going to be up for it. So, Emma here needs to get a KO. Oh, and she's not. And this is essentially it now. He's got the KO. He's doing 260 damage. 100 for the 5 bench Pokemon. 30 for the Silver Bangle. So he's going to be doing 260. That's enough to get the KO. The Mega Rayquaza goes down because of weakness. And he's got another Raichu set up anyway. This is going to be a very quick game 1. And this goes down to what I've been talking about on my podcast, PTCGRadio. If you haven't listened to it before, you can find it on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. Search PTCGRadio on YouTube. There's also a bunch of videos of me commentating games like this. And one thing I've been saying on there is that these Rayquaza decks end up in an awkward position. Because if they go super fast, and this seems to be the way Emma's gone here, they have no answer for Safeguard Pokemon. Those are Pokemon that essentially can't be harmed by EXs. They've got no answers for that, and they have a very striking weakness. And you can see here, Ben is taking advantage of the weakness. So that's going to be potentially an issue as we go forward here. And yeah, she's already scooped. Oh, that's, yeah, so as always, we've always got stuff we like prized, unfortunately. It is the nature of the game. If you've ever got prizes you don't mind being prized, you've built a bad deck. Or you've got some techs which are not relevant for that particular matchup. Generally, you want all the cards in your deck. So, very quick game 1 there. This isn't an unwinnable game for Emma. But Ben should be heavily favoured here. Because he's got that Raichu. And you'll notice there aren't really many tricks in Ben's deck. He doesn't seem to be playing Wally. I could be wrong about that. He's got Eevee, he's got Leafeon, he's got Raichu. It doesn't seem to be playing Flareon. Again, that could just be I haven't seen it yet. Again, I don't have the deck list here. I'm hoping that when we are streaming the Top Cut tomorrow, I will have deck lists. But for the moment today, I'm afraid I don't have deck lists. But like I say, I'm hoping I will have them tomorrow. What Emma needs to do here is essentially go off like a rocket. If Ben isn't playing Wally, then she's going to get a turn where essentially she goes first and starts setting up. Ben then isn't able to attack with the Raichu straight away because he needs a turn in which to evolve it. And that means that Emma's going to have then a turn to attack and, get another one set up. But in the same way that Emma doesn't have an answer for Safeguard Pokemon, she doesn't have a non-EX attacker. She doesn't have a one-prize Pokemon, which means all of her attacking is done with EXs that give up 2 prizes when knocked out. And when you're playing against a deck which doesn't play EXs, other than the obligatory Shaman to set up, then you end up in a position where you are one-hit KOing and they're one-hit KOing. But you're taking 1 prize and they're taking 2. And the prize trade is going to hurt. So if I'm completely honest, I wanted to show you these 2 decks. I wanted to show you, some players we haven't seen. But I do expect this to be, a bit of a win for Ben. Now, I didn't know what their decks were like, and it was absolutely, there could have been some tricks which changed things. And obviously, if Emma played Altaria, then Ben would have to change up his plan here. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like Emma plays Altaria, so she really is going to be susceptible to that weakness. But she's only 1 game down. It is a best of 3. And one thing that was good for Emma there is that it was a quick best of 3. It was a quick game. You don't want to lose. But she lost quite quickly. And that is at least, that's something. That's something. Now, I've had a bunch of people tweeting me asking me to put the standings up between rounds. I don't know if that's going to be possible. But I will certainly look into it. I will have a look to see if we can do that for bits of the between rounds. Because you're right, that would be a very fun thing to put up between rounds so you could see how people are doing. I'll see if we can get into that. I'll have a chat with the guys doing the tech. Because as I've said, I've just sat down and started talking. So Emma's going first. She started Shaman. That is not ideal. And she's laughing as she's looking through her deck in a resigned kind of way, which suggests that she might have some less than ideal prizes. She might have some stuff prize that she'd rather be getting out. But she's gone and got herself a Rayquaza, which is a good start. Now, every year I come to Nationals, and I have a sit down, and I look at what people are playing, and every year I realise what I should have been playing, and I never bring enough decks to make it out. And when I sat down today, I was talking around, I was having a chat with Ben and other people, and I realised that if I was at Nationals this year, and I could have chosen my deck right before I sat down and played, I'd have gone for Ben's deck. I would have wanted Leafeon Raichu. I don't think it's the best deck out there. I don't think it's got the best Toad matchup. But it's going to have a very good Groudon matchup. It's going to have a very good Rayquaza matchup. And it's just a cheap, hard-hitting deck. There's going to be a lot of random stuff. Trevenant, it can certainly hold up against. The biggest problem, although, like I said, is going to be the Shaman matchup. The Seismitoad Shaman matchup. So Emma here, she plays the Juniper or the Sycamore. I'm still calling it Juniper until it rotates. She gets the Virizion down, of course, and this is what a lot of Rayquaza decks do. They're relying entirely on colourless energy. So what they do is they play basic grass energy and they put 1 Virizion in. And the reason for doing that is just so that you can use Virizion's ability to make yourself immune to lasers. And you'll notice actually that Ben has started Virizion and is doing the exact same thing. Because, again, Ben's playing Leafeon and Raichu. He doesn't need grass energy to use Leafeon's first attack. Now it's useful for activating Eevee's ability and allowing you to evolve into Leafeon, but you don't need it. So it's interesting that, a lot of people are going to this, well, I'm just going to end up playing Grass Energy and Virizion. A lot of people think Virizion is going to rotate at the end of Worlds. We'll wait and see whether that happens. Now, one interesting thing, I know we see the Skyfield going down for Emma, but no, just 1 energy. It's on the bench, but I don't like that Shaman. That Shaman needs to get out of the active or it isn't going to go very well. Now, Ben attaches an energy to the Virizion there, and basically what he's doing is he's setting himself up for if he wants to retreat next turn. He doesn't have to retreat next turn, maybe it's going to die, but he wants essentially to be in a position where if the Virizion's KO'd, he can put a Raichu up. If the Virizion isn't KO'd, he can retreat the Raichu. So what he wants to do, what he's doing, is he's putting a grass energy on the Virizion, which got a retreat cost of 1, so that he can then retreat the Virizion next turn and attach a DCE to the, hopefully by then, Raichu to attack. Now, you'll notice that Ben started Virizion and Pikachu and put the Virizion active, which a lot of people don't do because that Virizion gives up 2 prizes. There's an Ultra Ball here. It's got to be presumably a Pikachu because he needs to get those. He needs to be streaming those Raichus. Now, one thing which is very interesting, like I say, is the fact that he started that Virizion. Because we saw in the previous game, Ben doesn't really care if he loses his Virizion. I mean, Emma's not playing lasers, and going down 2 prizes early is not a big deal for Ben. Ben's got his Raichu, which means that Ben is going to be one-hit KOing all of her Pokemon other than Virizion for 2 prizes. We see a Col... Oh, they're both playing Skyfield. We could see some monster Colress's late game. But one thing which is very, he can just give up that Virizion. It really doesn't matter. Because then, as long as he's getting his Raichus out and attacking, whereas if he'd started with a Pikachu and a Virizion on the bench, that leaves it open for Emma to KO the Pikachu, which, to Ben in this matchup, is far more valuable. So Ben here is doing everything right. He's got 2 Pikachus down, and all he wants to do is get Pikachus down, and he wants to fill his bench. If I remember correctly, because Ben was kind enough to show me his list at the beginning of the day. A lot of kind people actually have been doing that, because I'm not playing today. So a lot of, nice people have just been letting me peruse their lists, just to kind of help me get informed about the format, so I can share some of this information over the stream. So Ben here, he wants to get more Pikachus on the bench. He wants to fill up his bench. And he wants to have a DCE ready for next turn. If he's got a DCE Raichu next turn, and a Silver Bangle will be tasty as well, then we're going to see it going like the previous game. And you don't really know what Emma can do. Now, what she basically has to do, and she could use Virizion here, because Ben would be 2-hit KOing that at best. Although actually no, because thinking about it, no, it wouldn't be a 2-hit KO, because with Skyfield out, Raichu can actually hit 190 for a double colourless energy. Because you can have a bench of 8, which is 160, add the Silver Bangle, that's 190. So actually Raichu, people are sleeping on Raichu this format. Raichu is better than people are giving it credit for. So, here, what Emma needs to do is essentially get a Rayquaza set up without putting too much energy on the field and try and just hope Ben whiffs the DCE. That's the only thing she can do here. Or, because if she gets too much energy on the field, she's going to be prey to Leafeon. The other thing Emma can do here is go the complete opposite way and just try and rely on Lysandras and essentially just try and get as many of them set up as fast as she can, because this deck can be super fast. And then just try and KO the Virizion this turn, and then try and hit 2 Lysandras to KO Shaymins, and just ignore the Raichu. If she can get the first KO and keep getting Lysandra KOs, then it doesn't matter that Ben's 1-hit KOing her in return, she'll get the win faster. But she's got to be taking out Shaymins, she can't take out Raichus. And every time she doesn't take out a Raichu, Ben's got a guaranteed KO next turn, which means he essentially needs to be able, or Emma's going to need those Lysandras every turn. So we see the Raichu, we see the Bangle, and there is a Trainer's Mail. I mean, Computer Search will be lovely here if he plays it, and I think he's got one there. Oh, that's amazing! Because now we can use a Computer Search to get the double colourless energy. He can retreat the Virizion with the energy he attached last turn in what was a really quite good play. And then the Raichu's going to come up and get the KO on the Shaymin. Now, here's the interesting thing here. I mean, what he would love to do, really, is Computer Search for a Lysandra. Use a Lysandra to bring up the Rayquaza with all the energy and get the DCE another way. But if he hasn't got it, he's got to use the he's got to use the computer search for DCE. And what we see there is just another really good use of Trainer's Mail, which is a card which, if I'm perfectly honest with you, I think I'm going to have to kind of agree that it's better than I thought it was. A lot of people are using it. Now, all it really does in reality is thin your deck. That's all it actually does. It essentially gives you less cards in your deck, so you're more likely to draw into what you want. But this is the beauty of Ben's deck, and he has there. He's gone the computer search for the DCE as I assumed he would. Ben is playing a very straightforward deck: Leafeon, Raichu, Shaman, and that's it. He needs those silver bangles to get the big KOs. That's where Trainer's Mail comes in. He needed the DCE. That was absolutely crucial. So what he was able to do there was play the Trainer's Mail, hit the computer search, use the computer search to grab a DCE, and he is off. And there's another Raichu there that's absolutely key. Now, what he would love here is a Lysandre. I don't think he's played a supporter this turn. And the only reason is that Mega Rayquaza on the bench is going to get the KO next turn. That's happening. What would be ideal here is if he could potentially... Emma's going to get the KO with the Mega Rayquaza. So, Ben needs to get the retaliatory KO with that Raichu, so he's going to need to get another DCE. And if he can take out that Rayquaza, then it's going to diminish Emma's chances here. Now, we can look at Emma's bench and see that she actually is playing a couple tricks. She's got a Pikachu of her own. So if she's able to get a Raichu and a DCE next turn, she can actually use her Raichu to take out Ben's Raichu. And then she's got a nice one prize attacker. So I thought it looked, at least initially, like Emma was playing the pure speed version of this Rayquaza deck. Turns out she has got a couple of tricks in there. There are a couple down. And it does indeed look like she's got an Altaria down as well. So this game could be very, very different indeed. So actually what Ben needs to do is try and get a Lysandre to grab up that Altaria. I believe that's an Altaria on the bench. There is a little bit of glare there, but I think that's an Altaria she's got down. And that, of course, is going to shut off the weakness. So now she's got a bit more of a chance. But let's not sleep on the fact that these Raichus can do 190 damage for one double colourless energy. So even without the weakness, those Shamans are still killed very easily. Those Rayquazas are still getting 2-hit KO'd, and Ben is still relying on efficient one prize attackers, whereas Emma, outside of presumably that single Raichu, and he's got the Lysandre, and he brings up the Altaria. Nobody wants to kill an Altaria for one prize. But now he's put the weakness back on. So I did miss that Altaria for a second as it was hidden away on Emma's giant 2-story bench. But it turns out she is playing a teched out version. She's got the Raichu, she's got the Altaria, or she had the Altaria. The Altaria is gone now. So this is really the crucial section of the game. The question is, can Emma keep up quite nice momentum? We see a computer search here. She's going to need at least one energy if she's going to get the attack off. Although I do disagree with what she's doing here. Especially with the Altaria down, especially with that computer search in hand, and the DCE in hand, what she should have done there, as far as I'm concerned, is put the Raichu up. She's got a ginormous bench. What she could have done was put the Raichu active. She's got a DCE. She could use a DCE to get the KO on the Raichu. And yes, Ben just needs a DCE to go back with his Raichu. But then you're putting it back into Ben's got to have this. By putting the Rayquaza up, and now she's gotten rid of two DCEs. So it's going to be hard for her to use a Raichu next turn. Oh, okay, she's trump carding it back in. So that's all right. Those DCEs are back. But I do disagree with this play from Emma here, because she's using a free energy 2-prize Mega EX to do the job that a 1 energy 1 prize non-EX could be doing. And, she's got a bench of 6. She's doing 120. She would still be doing 120 next turn if Ben couldn't get a DCE. Now, the other thing we could be thinking is maybe Emma's saving that Raichu for the Shaymins. But honestly, she's taking a big risk here. She's got the KO. But if Ben's got a DCE, she's losing that Rayquaza. And she's losing all that energy, and she's losing an awful lot. The other thing is, of course, yes, if that Rayquaza goes down, Emma can just bring up her Raichu and get the KO. That is absolutely possible. But then, she needs a DCE to do so. The beauty with her hand the previous turn, she had 2 DCEs in hand. So she could have used the Raichu and then definitely had the Rayquaza for the following turn. Whereas here, she's got the Rayquaza. We don't know she's got the Raichu for the following turn. She's gone to a lot of effort to do stuff which could have been done, I think, more easily. However, Ben ain't getting a KO here without a DCE. And actually, he's not getting a KO with a DCE at the moment. 200 isn't enough. I believe Raichu's got 240, if I remember correctly. Regardless, he's going to need 6 bench Pokemon. Or the 5 bench Pokemon he's got, and then he's going to need to add in a Silver Bangle. That would also get the KO here. That would then add up to enough. But as it stands at the moment, Ben hasn't got quite the KO. So this could work out for Emma here. And next turn, Emma can get the DCE on her Raichu, start building up a non-EX attacker, and start making a little bit of a comeback here. That would be what she's ideally aiming for here. If she can get the KO with the Rayquaza here, get the Raichu ready to go next turn, and then kind of start streaming together these KOs. And it's all going to be undone if Ben can drop either a Bangle DCE or a DCE and an energy. Now, if he doesn't have a DCE, and there's the extra bench Pokemon, so it's just a DCE he's looking for now. Now, and he's got the DCE. I was going to say, if he didn't have a DCE, what he could do is try popping a Grass Energy on the Eevee, evolve it into a Leafeon, and with the 4 energy down on Emma's side of the field, he'd be doing 80 damage, which isn't amazing, but it's a nice start. So there's a KO, and it's all going down. Now, we saw the effort Ben had to go to get the KO, and she's putting another Rayquaza active, and the Altaria is gone. She's got a DC. I don't know why she's not going for the Raichu here. She's got an efficient 1 prize attacker she could be using here, and also she can force him into a 7 prize game because her deck seems to be all the X's other than... Oh no, sorry, no, Ben's already taken a 1 prize KO, so no, the 7 prize game is going on at the moment. But the Raichu is a more efficient attacker. I really think she needs to go for the Raichu here. What I would like to have seen her do in an ideal world is in the previous turn, not play that trump card, use the Raichu, and then play the trump card if the Raichu went down, so that she can essentially bring it out and evolve it again, and try and keep using those Raichus. Because the irony is here that Ben's deck is as susceptible to Raichu as Emma's deck. Emma can... we see the Mega Turbo coming down here, so a nice example here of that Rayquaza deck getting all the energy it needs in just 1 turn. And she does play a second Raichu, and this is... it's all done in the wrong order. Because the problem is, what's going to happen here is, if Ben gets the KO on that Raichu... on the Rayquaza, she can only use one of those Raichus. Ben's going to be down to a single prize. And that means she can only use 1 Raichu. Whereas if she used both Raichu, she can make Ben KO 1 Raichu, she's down to 2 prizes. Make Ben KO a second Raichu, she's down to 1 prize, and then stick up your Mega Rayquaza. That's the tact I'd like to see her going here. Essentially what's happening is she's making too much of her 2 prize attackers and not enough of her 1 prize attackers. And especially against a deck like Ben that's really efficient and working with a prize trade, it really puts the prize trade out of your favour. So, now, let's not sleep on this. Emma's got the KO, and Ben doesn't have a Pikachu on the bench. So, improbably, Emma's in the driving seat here. Ben's basically going to have to put a Mr. Mime active, because even a Leafeon would only do 60 damage without a... just as it is with Emma's free energy. I know he is going for the Eevee. Now what he needs to do, he needs to get a Pikachu on the bench, ideally two. Because again, not only has Emma not got an Altaria out, she's got a full bench. No, I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. She does have an Altaria out. She has an Altaria in the top left of her bench. There is a little bit of glare here, so I apologise if I'm occasionally a tiny bit slow on one thing. Please don't tune out. I'll be lonely. So it is interesting here that Altaria is going for it. Now, the counter-argument, I said that I would like Emma to have trump carded a turn later. The counter-argument is, of course, I've lost my Altaria. I really need my Altaria in this matchup. So, no, I'm going to go for the trump card as soon as I can to get the Altaria back. And it's an absolutely viable strategy. And what I like here is that Emma, she's adapted from game 1 to game 2. And I know I've said I'd like her to make more of the Raichu and all of that. You know, we never know how games are going to turn out. But what I really like here is she's adapted from game 1 to game 2. She played game 1, she saw Ben's Raichu, and essentially she saw how brutal it was. So, instead, she's made sure in this game to prioritise the Altaria. Now, Ben actually can take a KO on a Pikachu here. Because he's doing 60 damage. So, I would like to see Ben do that. I would like to see Ben pull up the Pikachu and just take a prize. He's not going to KO the Altaria. And the Altaria is going to be retreated or switched. And it's going to be a waste of a Lysandra. What I'd like to see Ben do here is pull up this Pikachu and just take a KO. He'll then be down to 2 prizes. He can then essentially try and get another Raichu out, or I mean, maybe even Emma might, it's asking a lot, but Emma might get careless and prize too much and put too much energy down, and then he can actually get a KO on a you use Lysandra to KO a Shaman for the win. So Ben did do that, and I'm happy he did do that. He still doesn't have a Pikachu on the bench, and this is worrying because Emma is going to be taking a KO every turn. If she's got 2 Lysandra, and there is 1 Lysandra for the Shaman, which means Emma is now 1 Lysandra away from the win. Now, she needs here to not attach any more energy. There is going to be no Raichu next turn. Raichu ain't coming out. So, what she needs here is to not attach any more energy. And now, if Ben's got a Lysandra, this would be a time to use it. Now, he can put a Mime up and let her kill. If she's got a Lysandra, she's 1 next turn, or a VS Seeker. He needs a Pikachu, and there is the Pikachu. And there is Trainer's Mail. So, if he can get this turn or next a DCE with a Raichu and a Lysandra, then he's fine. It doesn't matter about the weakness. He's got enough bench Pokemon that he's killing the Shaman, weakness be damned. But the problem is, Emma has now, she's got a window. She has got at least 1 turn in which Ben can't win the game this turn. There's nothing on Ben's field which is going to do enough damage this turn to get the KO. Unless he plays Wally, which I don't know that he does. Although it would be the perfect kind of card to stick as a one-off in your deck. Having said that, of course, if he played Wally, he wouldn't be able to play Lysandra. So it would be kind of a waste of time. So he's got the Pikachu, he's got the DC. He needs a Raichu Lysandra. Because he's not getting the... With the Altaria out, he's not getting the KO on that Rayquaza. It's just got too much HP. Emma's gonna win in 2 turns. She can win in 1 with a Lysandra. And Ben needs to be mindful of time here. He won the first game very, very quickly. Oh, she's got a computer search. I mean, if she's got a Lysandra or a VS Seeker in her deck, this will be game. Oh, it's tense. And there's a VS Seeker. She'll use a VS Seeker to grab a Lysandra out of the discard pile. She's going to use it to drag up one of Ben's Shamans, take her final 2 prizes, and we are off to game 3, which makes me very, very happy because I really wanted to show this game on the stream, but I was a little bit worried that it was going to turn into kind of a brutal game in terms of Raichu running through the Rayquazas. However, I want to point out there that Emma played that game, very, very well. She had her Lysandras at the end. She prioritised her Altaria. She really changed what she was doing from the previous game. And she did do that thing I mentioned where essentially you get down to so many prizes and you just ignore what your opponent's doing and just try and KO some bench shaming for the win. Whether she's going to be able to get that with the Lysandras in game 3, we don't know. And you got to realize, one thing that must be pointed out from that previous game is that Ben did whiff the Pikachus for a couple of turns. Had he had them, the game may have been a little bit different. So we're going on to game 3 here, and the question is it going to go like game 1, where Ben's got the Raichu and the one prize attackers, and he's so efficient that there really is nothing that can happen, nothing that Emma can do? Or is Emma going to be able to get the Altaria out, be able to stop Ben doing what he does, and then, get some wins like we saw previously? Now, obviously, she is going to be relying heavily on Lysandra because she's not going to be able to take enough prizes just knocking out what's active. And Ben's a good player. He's top cut worlds, I believe, in the past. He's gone deep at Nationals, I think 2 years ago. 2 years ago he made the top 4 at Nationals. So we are talking about a very good, very experienced player here. And he's not going to leave any EXs in the active position. So hopefully we're going to get a full game 3 here. Now, in the previous game, for those of you that missed it, time was called at the end, which is why Ben, seeming to have the game in hand, last round Ben, then just kind of scooped. I didn't make that clear enough on the stream because I can't hear when time is called. But I have made it clear to the people in this game that when time is called, I want them to make it really flippin' obvious. So, the advantage here, of course, is that Ben's going first. It means that Ben, and you can see there he's got a Pikachu on the bench. Ben is going to have a turn where he's got probably Raichus, unless his deck completely falls apart. And Emma's got one turn before that to get her Altaria out. And that's going to be tricky. Now, weirdly, they've both started Virizion. I'm willing to bet they only play one each. And actually, not the first time they started Virizion this game. But again, Ben's done exactly what he did in the previous game. He's put Virizion active first because he needs to not have his Pikachu die. And, of course, as we saw in the previous game, Emma, she could kill that on turn 1. Emma's going to have a turn to attack. She could kill that Virizion. Now, what Ben could potentially do is just retreat the Virizion into a nice, like maybe a Mr. Mime or something, just so he's not giving up 2 prizes. But we've not seen Emma's deck be hideously fast on the first couple turns of the game. We have seen Emma's deck as one of these more teched out things. She's playing Raichu, she's playing Altaria. It's not been quite as fast as some of the lists you've seen on the internet, but she's got an answer for Safeguard. She's got an answer for the weakness. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think Emma's version of the deck is better. I think the fast version has just too many problems. So Ben here, he's got a full bench, but maybe we're going to see a Skyfield coming down in the near future. He's got the Pikachu, he's got the Silver Bangle, he needs Raichu DCE, and ideally he's going to want a Lysandra. Because actually for Emma, that Virizion's a pretty good starter. Because that ain't getting KO'd by a Raichu. Well, that's a lie, it could. And actually looking at it, that Raichu, well, assuming he's got the Raichu DCE, that Raichu would actually be doing 130 damage next turn. So all he'd need is a Skyfield and 2 more basics. And there's a Skyfield gone down from Emma there. All we'd need is that, and he's ready to go. And Emma had to put down the Skyfield there because Mega Rayquaza is limited to 150 damage. So, without Skyfield. So Emma's also going to want to get the KO here. So she's going to need the Skyfield. So if Ben can just hit a couple of basics, he can KO that Virizion. And I think that's one of the things people are sleeping on with Raichu. It's a lot better than people are giving it credit for, because it can just hit for ridiculous damage. Now, not quite Mega EX damage. With Silver Bangle, it maxes out at a paltry 190. But even so, even with even with Muscle Band, you're hitting 180. You're one-hit KOing. I mean, the only EXs you're not one-hit KOing are ones that are lightning resistant and those 190 ones that came from the double crisis blisters. So, yeah. Raichu's really... It's sneaky powerful. I'm going to be honest with you. It's sneaky powerful. So, Emma didn't get the start that she wanted last turn. Now, Ben's got the Lysandra, but does he have the DCE? Does he have the Raichu? He's got a Leafeon, but Leafeon's only doing 40 damage. So, Leafeon isn't really what you're looking for here. And you will notice that what Emma did superbly again this game, she used Winona on turn 1, and she got Swablu and Altaria. Altaria's got Delta Evolution, which allows you to evolve on the first turn of the game, and it removes weakness from all of your from all of your colourless Pokemon, which means that Ben's Raichu plan has been at least temporarily scuppered. And Ben actually here, he's found a different use for that grass energy on the Virizion. I said that he could use it to retreat the Virizion. That's absolutely true. He's Emerald Slashing. He's doing 50 damage to the Altaria, which isn't going to be enough to kill it, but still. And he's actually able to put a couple of energy on his Pikachu, so that he now doesn't need the DCE. The huge advantage of this is going to be that if he hits a DCE next turn, he can power up a second Pikachu, which is pretty gosh darn fun. Now, you'll see here, Ben's a very experienced player, a very good player. And one very clever thing that he's done here, he's put the energy on the other Pikachu. So now there's one Pikachu with a Bangle and one Pikachu with 2 energy. And this is a very important thing for him to do. This wasn't by accident. Emma might have a Lysandra next turn. Emma might get a KO next turn. If Emma gets a KO, she's now got to choose between the Pikachu that has a Bangle but no energy, or the Pikachu that has the energy but no Bangle. Whereas, had the energy and the Bangle all been on the same Pokemon, on the same Pikachu, then Emma would just have a very easy choice to make. She Lysandras up the Pikachu and kills it. But there will be no Lysandra. We see a Juniper, or a Sycamore if you want to be pedantic. I realised the other day, I don't even know if I've got a playset of Sycamores. I'm going to have to look that up. Because if Juniper does get rotated, I'm going to be stuffed. So we see here, we get the more energy on the Rayquaza on the bench, but she's still got to get that Altaria out of the active. And one thing that Ben's going to be able to do next turn is do a second Emerald Slash and KO the Altaria. I think it's got 80 or 90 HP, one of the two. And it's got 50. Oh, she hasn't got it out the active. Now, if Ben can get a third Pikachu and a DCE here, that would be amazing. Because if he can get a third Pikachu and a DCE, he can attach a DCE to the Pikachu, then he can get a third Pikachu down and Emerald Slash another 2 energy. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe Ben's playing 6 grass energy and 4 double colourless. I believe that's the count he's playing. I'll have to double check that. But I believe that's what he's playing. So maybe he's got a grass energy prized or whatever, but if he doesn't, he can have 3 Raichus ready to go. And that would be awesome. And he's got the DCE. I would love to see a third Pikachu down here. That would be awesome. I really don't think... I would like to see him Emerald Slash here, although it's dodgy. And actually, no, what I would like to see is the attack with the Leafeon. But then he would have had to waste a double colourless energy attachment. You can see why he didn't. But Leafeon's doing 60 damage. That would be enough to KO the Altaria. Because, unfortunately, if we see... And I don't think there's even a Spirit Link. No, I think there is a Spirit Link, sorry, on that bench Rayquaza. It doesn't look like it's a Mega yet, so... Emma's going to need the Mega to get the KO. But then she's going to be up a prize. But it looked like... I could be wrong with this. But it looked like Emma was only playing a 1-1 Altaria line. I don't know Emma. I didn't have a look at her list before the tournament. But I think Emma might only be playing a 1-1 Altaria line. And in fact, it might have been that's what was prized in Game 1 that caused her so much trouble. Now, we still don't see a Pikachu coming down, but Ben's only got 7 Pokemon on his bench, so there's still room on his bench to pop a Pikachu down, so let's not get too upset just yet. If Ben can KO that Altaria, that's going to put Emma on a very, very strict clock to trump card the Swablu and Altaria back in and get them back out again. And we know she can play a Winona to get them both out in one, and we know it's got Delta Evolution, so you can just evolve it straight up. But the point is, she's got to use a trump card, and she ain't going to Winona the turn she trump cards. So, hopefully here, Ben is going to be in a position where he's going to be able to have a turn or two where Emma doesn't have Altaria out, which means all of her colourless Pokemon have weakness. And we saw in Game 1 exactly what happens when Ben's got Raichus out and Emma hasn't turned her weakness off. But Ben needs a Raichu here. That is absolutely vital, because that's what went wrong in Game 2. Ben, I believe he had the opportunity to win, but he couldn't get the Raichu and a double colourless out, so he never actually got that chance to win. It was a much closer game than maybe it appeared Game 2. Oh, that's horrible. Because he didn't get the Raichu. He still hasn't got the Raichu. Emma's now got the Mega. She's going to be able to get the KO on the Virizion. And she's going to go up by a prize. And she's got the Lysandra on the Pikachu with the Muscle Band and the DCE. Now, I mean, that doesn't matter. If you look at the size of Ben's bench, Ben's fine. He's going to get the KO. But he needs the Raichu to get the KO. Now it leaves the door open for Emma to KO that Pikachu in retaliation, and we finally see the Raichu there. And with 6 Pokemon on his bench, he's hitting for 240, so he's got the KO. Now this is where the game gets interesting. And it's... Oh, and Ben's playing a Teammates. Now presumably it's going to be a Pikachu DCE. He could go for a Pikachu Raichu, but you'd imagine he's going Pikachu DCE here. He hasn't attached an energy this turn. So, Teammates being a supporter, of course, allows you to search your deck for any card, any 2 cards, as long as your opponent knocked out one of your Pokemon during your previous turn. So, for instance, if your Pokemon died from poison between turns, Teammates wouldn't take effect. So, as Emma KO'd the Pikachu last turn, that means Ben can play Teammates, and as long as they're in his deck, I'd be surprised if he didn't go Pikachu double colourless energy here. Because as long as Emma doesn't have Altaria out, Ben wins in 3 turns. It's as simple as that. Always gone for a VS Seeker. He doesn't have to show, by the way. With Teammates, because it's any 2 cards, you don't have to show your opponent what you're getting. You just have to show that you're getting 2 cards. So he has gone for a Pikachu. Now, if he's got a DCE in hand, that would explain why he didn't go for... And he has got a DCE in hand, so that's why he didn't go for it with the Teammates. And what he's doing here is he's setting himself up. Now, Emma still kind of has the advantage in prizes in that... No, she doesn't, sorry. No, because Ben's going to go down to 3 before her. So, no, things are very much in Ben's court here. And what Ben's doing crucially here that he was not able to do in the previous game, he's building up his attackers. And... this is going to be very, very interesting here because Emma is going to need to get an attacker out. Now, she hasn't got a Pikachu down on the bench, so she ain't going to be using any of her Raichu. What that means is she is going to essentially have to try and get a Mega Rayquaza out. And that is a beastly Colress for 9. Still 7 short of the maximum Colress you can do, but a beastly nonetheless. She's going to need a Rayquaza, a Spirit Link, a Mega Rayquaza, a double colourless energy, a Mega Turbo, and a way to get Virizion out of the active. She will still only be hitting for 90 damage, which is okay, right? She's only got 90 HP, so you're okay in that respect. But even off a Colress to 9, that is a lot to ask for. Even if she gets that, and that is a lot to ask for, even if she gets that, Ben needs a Raichu for the return KO, and then he's down to 1 prize. And apparently Ben actually does have the Raichu in his hands. He's got it ready for next turn. And we know that Emma's not going to be playing a Lysandra this turn. And we know that she's not going to be playing an N this turn. Lysandra would be pointless at this stage. So Ben is making it very clear that time is being called. Thank you very much to Ben. Now, however, this could work out quite nicely for Ben here. This means that Emma is turn 0. Ben has 3 prizes remaining and 2 turns in which to take them. And he's got 2 Raichu. Now, I've already explained, it is going to take a lot for Emma to get the KO this game. It's doable. It is absolutely doable, especially with all the Shaman shenanigans. But it's going to take a lot for Emma to get the KO. If Emma doesn't get the KO, Ben's got 2 turns, 2 Raichus, and he needs 2 KOs. Now, even if that Virizion stays active this turn, firstly, Ben has the option of Lysandra, and we saw that from that teammate's last turn, he got a VS Seeker. So we know he's got access to a Lysandra if he needs one. The other thing that he could potentially do is just drop a Silver Bangle. Now, I don't know how many he plays, I don't know how many he's used, I haven't kept good enough count. But Ben currently has 7 bench Pokemon, which means Raichu's hitting for 140 damage. Which means all Ben needs to do is pop down a Silver Bangle, and he's KOing the Virizion anyway. If Emma can't attack this turn, she needs to keep the Virizion in the active. Because if Ben doesn't get a KO next turn, we are having a draw here. I mean, Emma's not going to win the game. I'm sorry to break it to anyone that wants Emma to win. She's got 5 prizes. Oh, now she's only got 1 turn left. So Emma's not winning. It's either going to be a win for Ben, or it's going to be a draw. There is Lysandra on the... Now, I don't believe he actually used the VS Seeker for the Lysandra there, and that's absolutely crucial. Because, of course, getting a KO this turn doesn't... Oh, and he's going for the Trainer's Mail. He's going to want a Silver Bangle. And it looks like he has got a Bangle there. If he pops the Bangle on that Raichu, it's basically game. And he's got it. This is wonderful. Unfortunately, and this has been a much better series than I thought it was going to be. I wanted it to be a nice series, but I wanted to show you guys these 2 decks. Emma has made a real series of this, but Ben, he was always the heavy favourite coming in. There's basically no way Ben doesn't win here. Ben gets the KO on this Rayquaza. Now... Yeah, there is no way Ben doesn't win here. Because either Ben has enough of a bench to KO the Virizion, or indeed anything on Emma's side of the field, or Emma gets the KO on the Raichu, which means Ben no longer has enough stuff on the bench to get the KO, but he doesn't need it because Emma's got a Rayquaza in the active having taken the KO. So, I don't believe... I mean, unless Emma plays Megaphone, which I don't think we've seen so far. I mean, if Emma plays a Megaphone and puts the Virizion in the active and plays an N, because we know Ben's got a VS Seeker in hand to get the Lysandra, I think that's literally the only way... Oh, no! I have slept on this a little bit. I didn't realise a Lysandra play. Ben needs to get that Leafeon out of the active. If Ben doesn't get that Leafeon out of the active, and Leafeon's got a retreat cost of 2, so it's going to take a double colourless energy or a switching card in order to get it out of the active. If Ben can't get that Leafeon out of the active, we've got a draw. Now, Ben's actually drawn into an Ultra Ball there, and he can use the Ultra Ball for his Shaman, so there's the Trainer's Mail. Does he have a switching card? I can't quite see. Probably not, because he would have thrown it down by now if he did. If he can get the Leafeon out of the active, I can't believe I slept on that. How rude of me. Emma has done absolutely the very best thing she possibly could. She's Lysandra'd up the Leafeon, and that means that if he can get it out of the active, he's got the KO with a Raichu. Otherwise, we're heading to a draw. So Ben's going to be playing that Ultra Ball, presumably. If he plays a 4th Shaman, he's going to be looking for the Shaman. But Ben needs to be able to get that Leafeon out of the active. That is absolutely crucial. And it's got a retreat cost of 2. I don't know how many DCs we've seen this game. We don't know if he's got any left. So this is going to be crucial. Now, he doesn't actually need the Lysandre here. So what he's going to want to do is use the... Now, he can even deck out here. What he's going to want to do here is, if he's got that VS Seeker, like I think he has, he's going to want to use it to get a Juniper, or he's going to want to use it to get a Colrus or something like that to draw a bunch of cards. He's going to need to get something from that. Because it really has come down to that. I'm a little bit annoyed. I miss that Lysandre play from Emma. It's very silly of me. That's a very good play from Emma, because it's the only way she can salvage a draw. It does point out the ridiculousness of the rules we're playing with at the moment. The fact that, you know, Emma's taken 1 prize. Ben's taken 5. Oh, and he's gone for the mime, so he's clearly going to VS Seeker for the Colrus for 10. Emma's taken 1 prize. Ben's taken 5. We know that Emma, in an untimed game, Emma can't win this. It's going to be a win for Ben. However, Emma could potentially stall this into a draw, despite the fact that there is no chance she's going to win in an untimed game. Now, when you get into Top Cut, the rules are different. In Top Cut, you need to have taken more than 50% of your prizes. What that means is that if you've taken 4 or more prizes, as Ben has, the game counts, it's a win. In Swiss, however, games only count if they're completed. So Ben's taken 5 prizes, he hasn't taken 6, the game is not complete, we don't have a win. So, we have a bench of 8 there. And Ben, it looks like he's counting it up. There's probably going to be... Yeah, there is a Colrus there. We saw it on the bottom of his deck. So he's going to play a Colrus for 10. He's going to be looking either for a DCE to retreat the Leafeon, or he's going to be looking for a switch or an escape rope or something like that. Any switching card or DCE gives Ben the win here. It's as simple as that. Anything other than that, this game goes down as incomplete, because this is a final game of the final turn. Anything other than that goes down as an incomplete game. They've got 1 win each, and we end up with a draw overall, which isn't particularly fair, but there ain't nothing we can do about it. So Ben's played as many cards as he can, and I think Emma's going to realise what's happening here. It's literally down to this Colrus. Ben draws 10 cards. If he draws a DC or any switching cards, he wins. Otherwise, this game is incomplete, and we go to a draw. I'm hoping he kind of puts them out face up, just so we can all see. Oh, he's not doing it. It's a little bit boring, Ben. So, the question is he going to be able to get these? Does he have anything for the win? Yeah, he's got the DCE. He can retreat the Leafeon, pop the Raichu active, and he can do a ridiculous 190, and he's got the escape rope as well. He did it by quite a bit. So, quite frankly, a much better series than it looked like at the beginning, at least from game 1. An interesting game with interesting people playing interesting decks. Thank you very much for watching this. Now, we've gone to time, so I'm going to grab them to have a quick chat, but I don't think we've got long, because it's not going to be very long until we're going to be pairing up round 3. So cheers for watching. Give us just a minute or 2 to get them up. I'm going to switch you to the in-between round screen. We're going to mute you, and we'll be back in just a minute. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we welcome in Ben and Emma from the previous game. Congratulations, Ben, and sorry, Emma.
Thank you.
So, Ben, tell us about Leafeon Raichu, because it's a deck which, I mentioned it on the podcast last week. I think I didn't give it enough credit until I saw your list today, and I kind of saw how it was going.
I didn't even know it existed before yesterday. I mean, I've tested it. When I say I test a lot, you know me, Ross. I don't test at all.
2 or 3 games.
Yeah, but I tested Rayquaza, and I thought it just wasn't drawing right for me, and I don't want to play Toad because I don't want to have a boring day. So, my dad suggested Leafeon Raichu. I played about 3 games last night. I thought, why not? And to be fair, it's just running really well. So,
the one question I've got to ask, because I know you haven't played any Toad today,
yeah,
and your deck is running well, and you had your I can't lose. I've told you about it. What about Toad? I mean, when you end up facing Toad, are you worried? Because they're everywhere.
Well, before this, I used to have a good matchup against Toad, but I've got now. I didn't realise how much of a good matchup I've got against Rayquaza, and then obviously Groudon, I've got a good matchup. But maybe Toad is my 50-50 matchup. But you know,
I think because we saw a Leafeon deck on stream in round 1, but the thing that didn't have was the Raichu hitting for a ridiculous amount of damage constantly. It really was quite shocking how much it hit and how quickly.
I think I was hitting for like 170?
190 on the final turn. That last turn, you hit the Virizion for 190.
Stage 2. Yeah, that's alright.
That's quite impressive. So, Emma, are you new to the game? Have you been playing long, or...?
Not really. Opened up a kind of gaming store like a couple of years ago, and then started the local league there because there was nothing in the area. Because I collected the cards, played the video game, but there was nothing, and then it just kind of escalated from there.
Fair dues. So, where's this to? Where is the store?
Well, we closed down because I went bust. As you do. It was in Alloa in Scotland, but the league's now running in Stirling, so...
that's
Scotland
cool.
League.
Is that like Frasier's?
No.
It's nice to see league leaders doing well.
It's my league. It's mine.
Because there's people actually kind of run it and give back. It's nice to see them doing well. So this is your first year at Nationals?
Yeah.
And you started off 2-0?
Yeah.
Really good. So I can't say the same for myself.
So what did you play in the first 2 rounds?
Well, Night March and it was Primal Kyogre. It's just
Night March?
Yeah.
That's not a good matchup.
No, it wasn't. It was rough. But I won both rounds, round 1 and 2 somehow.
So how did you? I mean, because I'm assuming you used Altaria for the Joltik.
Yeah, and then trump card, trump card, trump card, trump card.
If you play trump card enough, you do screw them over. That is quite fantastic. And Kyogre, I suppose, is a much better matchup because they're a bit slower and essentially they're hitting you for a lot, but you're one-hit KOing them and you're faster than them.
Yep,
so
exactly.
probably a more straightforward win in round 2.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So why'd you go for Rayquaza then? I mean, Ben thinks it's rubbish.
Because of speed and power. I hate Toad. I hate Toad with passion. It's like, just item what just seems so boring.
There are a lot of I'm trying to avoid getting them on the stream, but I think we're going to have to give in and get them up sooner or later. Unfortunately.
Please don't.
It's going to happen. They're everywhere.
Or Trevenant. Trevenant now.
No, I want to see Trevenant. Trevenant's more fun. So, you went for the Rayquaza. You didn't go for the pure speed version. You've got a Raichu in there, I'm assuming a 2-2 line.
Yeah, 2-2
and you've got a 1-1 line of Altaria in there as well. Why that version? Why not just the pure... Because you can have a faster, harder hitting version.
I wasn't finding the speed version working out that better. I would like a 2-2 Altaria for the matchups like that one, but I just found Safeguard and other things. It just in the mirror match as well. It's just a bit better with the Raichu.
Oh, the Raichu will be sick in the mirror. That makes a lot of sense. Well, congratulations to you both. Thank you for coming and having a chat with us. I think round 3 is going to be paired quite quickly, so we're going to mute you all for a little bit, and we'll be back with round 4 fairly shortly.
Cool.